Alright, this is problem 34 on test 3 review. And what we have is Angela bought a computer for $1,600. It depreciated 23% of its original cost in the first year. In the second year, it depreciated 13% of its remaining value. What is the value of the computer at the end of the second year? So, and of course, round the answer to the nearest cent. And what I did is I broke it into 4 steps. Fourth step finally giving you the answer, which is calculate the cost after the second year of depreciation, because that what is the value of the computer at the end of the second year, and that's what that last step will tell us. There's 3 steps that go in front of it, and I'm going to break down each step in the to do the math. So step 1, calculate the amount of depreciation in the first year. We'll work on that. And then when we get that number, we will calculate the cost after the first year. Then when we get that answer, we will be able to calculate the amount of depreciation in the second year. And with that answer, we'll be able to calculate the cost after the second year of depreciation. So the answer to each step leads to the next step. So when we begin the problem, we'll start with calculating the amount of depreciation in the first year. Okay, so in this sentence here, it depreciated 23% of its original cost in the first year. So the important parts of that sentence is 23% of its original cost. That sentence is actually a math phrase. You can change that into math. Well, what's the original cost? The original cost is $1,600. Well, let's look at that. $1,600 is the original cost. Then 23% is 23%, and it says of. So 23% of 1,600 equal the amount it depreciated. Let's translate that down here. So let's take the phrase depreciated 23% of the cost, just as we did here, and change that into math. So you have 23% of $1,600. And that will equal amount depreciated. Okay, that's what we have here. So now the next step is we have to be able to use math to solve for an amount depreciated. So 23% cannot be multiplied. You have to change it to a decimal. In order to change to a decimal, on a percent sign, the decimal is after the 23. And anytime you drop a percent sign, you're dividing by 100, which means you're moving the decimal 2 places to the left. And that will give you no percent sign and then a decimal. So you're given 0.23. So it's 0.23. Of 1,600 translates to multiply times 1,600. Will then equal the amount depreciated. So we'll take calculator, 0.23 times 1,600 equals 368. So that's the amount that it decreased or depreciated. So So let's give that a label, equals. So when we put it that way, that's not the new price of the computer, $368. That becomes just the amount it decreased. So our step number 2, which is calculate the cost after the first year of depreciation. So then the new cost of the computer is another math problem. We have to subtract the amount depreciated or decreased by the original amount. So let's make that into a math problem. So we take the original amount, which is $1,600, and we're going to subtract how much it depreciated in the first year. So that would be $380. And that gives us a new total that the computer is actually worth. So on our calculator, we will have 1,600 minus $368. That's $1,232. $1,232. This. Okay. So that's the answer to step 2. Now you have, which is, let's label it, the cost after the first year of depreciation. So now we have to use that amount in our next step. Let's put a color back to step 3. Okay, in step 3 it's telling us, where's my, calculate the amount of depreciation in the second year. Okay, so we have to use information from the problem again. In the second year, it depreciated 13% of its remaining value. And this is the key phrase, remaining value, because that is not the original amount. It is our new value after the first year. So the remaining value is $1,232. So the answer to step 2 then is going to be used in step 3. We won't go back to the original amount for this depreciation. Depreciation in the second year is 13% of its remaining value. So this here then is remaining value. So when we make a sentence, we're going to, our step 3 is to find 13% of the remaining value. Alright, let's change those words into a little math sentence, which would be 13% of the remaining value equals the amount depreciated in the second year. 13% of the remaining value, 13% times the remaining value of $1,232 will then equal the amount depreciated in the second year. So we have to change 13% to a decimal, and the decimal is here. That means we divide by 100. We move it 2 places to the left, which then gives us 0.13. So we have 0.13 times 1232 will then equal our amount depreciated in the second year. So we will take 0.13 times 1232 is $160.16. So an additional appreciation happened. That's step 3. So step 4, we calculate the cost after the second year of depreciation. So we have a value of, so step 4, we're going to subtract the depreciation after the second year from the remaining value. Okay, so once again, we're not going back to the original value. We have to use the remaining value. So we have a depreciation. What is the depreciation? Well, that's what we just calculated in step 3. That is $160.16 is another year of depreciation. So the depreciation of $160.16 has to be subtracted from the remaining value. And the remaining value we calculated in step number 2, 1232, subtract our depreciation of the second year will equal the value or the cost after the second year. So that number 1232 minus 160.16, 1232 minus 160.16 is $1,071.84. That total is the cost of the computer after the second year. Okay, so our answer, the big answer to the problem then is after 2 years of depreciation, the computer cost $1,071.84.